Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Costi Cute. I'm the mayor of Statesville, and we wanted to give you a brief update on some activities in our city relating to crime and our response as citizens to that crime. I'm happy to be here with Chief David Addison. I'm going to turn it over to him in just a minute, but I want to recognize my colleague on the Statesville City Council, Doris Allison, and our friend and president of the Statesville branch of the NAACP, Mr. Todd Scott. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Addison, and when he's through with his remarks, I have a few remarks that I would like to make. And to the extent there's anything more that we can say about any situations in our city, we'll be happy to try to answer those questions. Chief.
Thank you. On May 17th, 2022, we responded out about 3:30 in the morning to the 900 block of 5th Street regarding a homicide. Mr. Breon Tucker, we found deceased at the scene outside of a vehicle at that location. The investigators under Captain Anthony Hamby and Sergeant Craig did a phenomenal job. They worked tirelessly in getting all the evidence and the information to be able to make an arrest. And an arrest was made, and we sent that out this morning. Mr. Mark was arrested for the murder, and saying that there's not a whole lot more we can give about that investigation because we're still pursuing leads and there may be other people involved. With regards to the crime in Statesville so far, year to date, our violent crime, and I will give you all a copy of this before you leave, our violent crime is down 50%, and our crimes against property, or property crimes, are down 32.73. This is our 3rd homicide of this year. We had one unfortunate death when an elderly gentleman shot another elderly gentleman. That was not a homicide because it was not intentional. So we've got one homicide more than we had last year this time. The only other peaks that we're seeing is theft of motor vehicle parts and motor vehicle theft. Other than that, our crime is continuing to trend downwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Addison. I want to congratulate you and the police department on the quick response to this specific crime and to our crime in the city in general. I wanted to speak more specifically about our reaction as a city to these events. We were all shaken to the core last June 28th when Amaya Howell, an 8-year-old child, was tragically and unnecessarily shot and killed. The chief and I have talked about that on several occasions. Those kind of events stay with you a long, long time. And we responded together. We marched together. We prayed together. We consoled the family together, and that's what we do as a community. And we will do this in this case and every other case. We want the citizens to feel safe in our city. You can hear from the chief's crime reports that his efforts and our police department's efforts and the efforts of our citizens are working very well here. So we're always horrified and emotionally stricken by any time a person is unnecessarily and tragically killed or loses their life in our community. But we wanted to let you know and our citizens know that we're there for you and that we are always ready to react, and that we appreciate the efforts of our police department, who have been more visible in our community in the years under Chief Addison's leadership than we had before. And we appreciate that, and we're thankful to him for his leadership, and thankful to Mr. Scott and Ms. Allison for their help with us in the community as we address these tragic crimes. But as I said, while this incident is tragic, it's great that we have had such a quick response, and that our response emotionally and spiritually and will be just as great as that of the police department. So thank you very much.
Chief, can you say if the defendant and the suspect and the victim in this latest shooting knew each other, or was it more of a random crime?
I think they knew each other.
And the motive was robbery?
That we're still digging into as we get more witnesses.
Chief, can you talk specifically about some things you said this is the 3rd year that crime has decreased in the city? Can you talk what are some things you guys have been doing in the last few years?
We became more infused in the community. We have a strong presence in the community. We've started up community meetings so people can have an outlet if there's something that is bothering you, even if it's not police related. You can bring it to that meeting, and our captains that are over those respective districts are actually responding out to those. So byproducts of crime, we're looking at that as well. We also did a summer camp last year, and we're working on developing another summer camp this year to give our kids something to do.
Chief Addison doesn't give himself enough credit, but he began an effort where monthly he went to different parts of the community, not just to talk about police matters, but to talk about anything that was on the minds of the people in that community. And it was all over. It was all over our community, not restricted to one demographic or socioeconomic area. And I think that's been a very powerful message to all of our citizens that we're all in this together, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. And so we really appreciate that effort and hope that will continue under the leadership of whomever replaces Chief Addison.
Chief, it seems like you have the pulse of the community. You understand what the community is saying. What are the community saying about this crime? Because I was out there when it, of course, later when it happened, and nearby neighboring businesses didn't know what was going on. They was concerned. What are the communities? What do you hear the community saying?
They really want some of this random violence to stop. And it's not random in the sense that the victims are unknown by the suspects. These are people that know each other. Some come from other neighboring cities, and they come into Statesville and they'll just violently attack one another. And those numbers have come down significantly over the last couple of years, our aggravated assaults. For example, this year, so far year to date, we've only had 4 armed robberies. Last year we had 9 total, and that's, as we stated during the crime report, that's kind of an anomaly for us. But our citizens want to be able to operate in a city or live in a city that doesn't have all this back and forth and this randomness between people that know each other, that don't know how to have a conversation. And I think that's part of the problem, that we always resort to violence when we can have a conversation to resolve something.